agent Sam just went. He's absolutely fantastic. So I'm very, very pleased. It's my great pleasure to introduce to you the absolutely wonderful James Lord.
Thank you. That was wonderful. Yes, my name's James, and at various points in my life I've been described as an engineer by the biologists, as a biologist by the engineers, as a bioengineer by everyone else, and as a prick by my wife. So that's nice. So my work, sorry, I'm just going to need to grab this and step in your way. There we go. My work is all to do with artificial hip replacement, and that's exactly what it sounds like. It's an artificial replacement for your hip. Simple, this PhD mark, isn't it? So what happens is you get older, your body starts to break down, you pick up injuries, you pick up diseases. By disease, who was that? I mean things like arthritis, not the disease you get on the big market on a Saturday night. And the last resort for treating arthritis and diseases like that is they cut you open, they take out what's left of your tattered hip, and they give you one of these. Wow, fantastic. So, as you can imagine, these things, they need to be pretty solid. Right? They're now doing the job of the largest weight-bearing joint in your body. They have to be pretty fucking solid. So what they do, they make them out of pretty solid metal. They make them either cobalt chrome or titanium, from the Greek titan to mean pretty fucking solid. Apart from this bit just here, what we call the cup here, they make this out of polyethylene, from the Greek polyethylene to mean the same shit they used to make plastic bags. Holy shit. So they put these into your body, which you'll all be really excited to get now. By the way, if anyone is getting to a point where they think they might need one of these in the near future, I don't mean to alarm you, that's not actual size. That would leave one hell of a scar. No, they give you one of these. Now that leaves a slightly smaller scar. In the minority of cases it does leave what I can only describe as a slightly unfortunate bulge on the side of your leg, about here. It's terrible. So actually, sorry, have you had one of these? You haven't? You're just really enjoying yourself tonight, are you? Good for you, sir. Good for you. So they implanted these in the hundreds of thousands worldwide, and to everyone's surprise, this plastic bag titanium monstrosity was actually quite successful. I've been lucky enough to get a picture from the original conference back in the 60s when the surgeons told the scientists that this was successful. Holy shit. The last time I saw a scientist that surprised was when Amy Winehouse's toxology report came back negative. Right, yes. So they implanted these in the hundreds of thousands, and they were, for the most part, pretty successful. And then scientists got cocky, effectively, and they started trying to give them to younger and younger patients. And what they found was that as soon as they tried to give them to anyone whose ambitions stretched beyond making it to the bathroom on time that day, they weren't so great. And what was happening was the solid metal part was wearing straight through the soft plastic part. Bits of plastic debris shooting everywhere, it's getting stuck in the tissue. I mean, these patients were worse off than if we hadn't given them the joint in the first place. The only way you'd see a bigger train wreck is if someone lent a train to Ryan Dunn. No one knows who Ryan Dunn is? I don't know. He was the guy from Jackass who got drunk and crashed his car into a tree. Yeah, get it now? No. I am available for children's parties, by the way. Kids eat this shit up. So what they decided to do was take out the soft plastic bit, replace it with some hard titanium again. Makes sense, problem solved, correct? Yeah, actually, you're pretty much right, they were. We found with these new devices what we call a hard-on-hard bearing, hard metal on hard metal. We had a, it's tough this PhD. So Yeah, we found a 96% survivorship rate after 5 years. I don't know about you, but I can't think of anything I bought 100 of, and 96 of them are still working 5 years later. But of course, it's only good if you're lucky enough to be in that 96%. If you're unfortunate enough to be in the 4%, it's still a disaster. It still does more damage than it did good, and it's still, you'd be better off if you never implanted it. So us engineers are always looking for a way to make them better, make them last longer, and make them work in more people. So what one company in particular has decided to do is change the way they make it. They still make it the same things, they've just added a step in their manufacturing process, and it's called heat treatment. And heat treatment it's a legitimate technique, it's used in hundreds of applications, and it does two things. The first thing it does is to make the material more resistant to stresses, less likely to break. Fantastic. The second thing it does is it makes the material fucking softer. And then, just to really cement their place in the history of dickholery, what they decided to do was only do this heat treatment on one half of their hip. So they left the solid metal head well alone, but they just applied it to the cup. So we're right back where we started, the hard head and the soft cup. Why did they do it? Because fuck the patients, that's why. So as you can imagine, these are implanted all over the world, particularly in America, so there's lawsuits flying everywhere with this particular design at the moment. And that means I'm not legally allowed to tell you who it was that did this. So I'm just going to call it Design A for the rest of the night. And maybe some of you can figure it out. So Design A, overnight, managed to triple their failure rate with this one process from 4% to 12%. Fucking disaster. So my job, effectively, is to pick up the pieces from this kind of thing. Anything that gets taken out because it's broken, they send to us. We look at them, we try and figure out what went wrong. Design A, pretty easy to figure out. Some of the others are a little more complicated. But what it effectively means is that we're judging all hip replacements based on this 4%, this tiny minority that we get to look at. We try to look at some healthy ones, but apparently it's unethical to cut open healthy human beings and steal their perfectly functioning hips. I don't get it either. So we're judging everything on this tiny minority, which is a little bit like judging the entire human race based on that disgusting part of Paris Hilton you once saw on the internet. A face. No, I didn't mean a face, I meant a vagina. And just like Paris Hilton's vagina, the devices that make it to my office are broken down, they've done more harm than good, and more often than not, there's still pieces of dead tissue attached to them. So I better leave it at that, or I'll never be invited back or allowed outside again. So, ladies and gentlemen, you've been absolutely wonderful. I've been James Lord. Please welcome back to the stage the magnificent Helen Keane.